This is CJSW's Municipal election coverage, your audio guide to Calgary's 2025 election. This series gives you interviews with candidates running for office, exploring the people, policies, and issues that will shape Calgary's future. We're broadcasting from CJSW 90.9 FM, located at the University of Calgary, on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. Before we begin, we would like to remind listeners that the views expressed in this podcast are those of the candidates and the interview subjects, and not those of CJSW or its staff. Today, we are exploring a lively and close-knit corner of Northeast Calgary. Ward 10 balances amenities with affordability, featuring grid-style streets and walkable commercial zones. Ward 10 stretches from Memorial Drive north to the eastern city limits, forming a belt of neighbourhoods woven with retail, schools, parks, and transit hubs. Traversed by the C-Train North Line, concerns with transit safety and community support services are top priority for Ward 10 residents. The communities included in Ward 10 are Abbeydale, Coral Springs, Marlborough, Marlborough Park, Mayland Heights, Monterey Park, Pineridge, Rundle, Temple, Vista Heights, and Whitehorn. According to the 2024 Fall Survey of Calgarians, citizens of Ward 10 reported their top 3 agenda issues as infrastructure, traffic and roads, economy, and crime, safety, and policing. The report also shows that the perceived change in quality of life worsened to 74%, which is higher than the city average. You can access the full report in our show notes. We reached out to nominated candidates and trustees running in the 2025 general election to participate in this podcast. The following interviews feature only those candidates who responded and were available to participate within our production timeline. To ensure consistency, we selected about 1 minute of each candidate's response to include in this episode. The audio is presented unedited, and we've aimed to fairly represent each participant's message and voice. We remain committed to providing space for all voices and encourage voters to learn more about every candidate by visiting electionscalgary.ca. Having served 5 terms on council, Andre Chabot is seeking re-election to represent Ward 10. Chabot is the most veteran incumbent seeking re-election. Chabot was running as a member of Communities First. Now, it's time to hear from Chabot himself. On social services, what do you believe is the city's role in supporting vulnerable Calgarians through social services such as mental health support and harm reduction? Running as a member of Communities First, Andre Chabot.
While it isn't a core municipal responsibility, I do believe that we have a social obligation to provide services to Calgarians. We have invested significantly into mental health and addictions. We've actually provided base level funding, although personally I think we should have done one-time funding because ultimately mental health, it's in the word, health care is a provincial responsibility. I certainly would continue to advocate to the provincial government to step up and take on a more proactive and financial role in delivering that service because there's a critical need in our city, there's no question.
On environment, how would you approach environmental sustainability in Calgary, particularly around land development, waste management, and water conservation? From Andre Chabot.
The City of Calgary has undergone a very significant change in regards to land development. We are now developing at a minimum of 25 units per hectare, and we're ensuring that our communities are complete communities. So we offer a multitude of different things within a local area plan, as an example, or even an area structure plan. So we make sure that we've got a multitude of different housing types, employment, education, and recreation, so you can live, work, and play within your community and not have to commute. So from an environmental sustainability perspective, the less you have to travel to go to and from work or places of enjoyment, of course, the greater the impact, or less the impact is going to be on the environment. That's certainly a good way from an environmental sustainability perspective, is to ensure that development is compact and that we build complete communities.
Great. On affordable housing, what specific policies or initiatives would you support to improve housing affordability and accessibility in Calgary? From Andre Chabot.
I believe that it needs to be a three-party initiative, that the provincial, federal, and municipal governments have to participate. In the past, the city typically would contribute lands as their one-third contribution, and the provincial and federal governments would contribute their one-third as well. What we found, though, is that whilst it's something that does provide for affordable housing, it doesn't necessarily meet the demand. Right now, the demand far exceeds the ability for the City of Calgary independently to provide the amount of housing that's required. So I do support the transfer of lands at below market to the private sector or the not-for-profit sector to be able to provide some of that housing. And if we provide it at below market, then they can provide that housing at below market rents.
On public safety, how would you balance community safety with calls for accountability and reform in our police, fire, and emergency services? From Andre Chabot.
I'm a big supporter of the police department and ensuring that we have a visual presence as much as possible. Safety and security is a critical element and a much needed improvement within my area. There's a number of different tools that can be utilized, though, and it's not just necessarily enforcement, but also ensuring that we can connect individuals to the resources that they actually need. So, Alpha House, the DOPE team, or now referred to as the HELP team, and a number of different social service agencies that we can access through the 74100 app on public transit. Again, connecting those individuals to the appropriate resources to mitigate some of the challenges associated with mental health and addictions, and of course, visual presence and ambassador programs are great tools to utilize to make sure that we can point people in the right direction if necessary, or help them to move along.
On education, while education is largely a provincial responsibility, how do you see the city collaborating with school boards to support accessible and quality education in your ward? From Andre Chabot.
So things have become more challenging with recent legislation, how the provincial government will be able to take over sites to provide education for things that fall outside of the Canadian Charter of Rights, which allows for education in two official languages, French or English. Now, with the new legislation, they will actually be able to provide some public lands for charter schools. I think charter schools is something that should be supported. We are, after all, a multicultural city, and we have a lot of different ethnic groups. So I think it's a good step. We just got to be sure that we work closely with the provincial government to make sure that we don't become deficient in municipal reserve for either recreational opportunities or what have you outside of the education system. But fully support continuing to support the education system, whether it's for the standard schools or for charter schools.
Great. On transportation, what is your vision for improving traffic flow and public transit in your ward and across the city? From Andre Chabot.
So I've been working on a number of initiatives recently, including increased frequency for public transit. If we have more frequent and predictable transit. It will get more people off the roads, and there's a number of intersections within my ward that I've already initiated some changes to improve the flow of traffic, and including some of the changes to some of the major arterials. Currently, it just brought it forward as a notice of motion. Some of that work is going to be forthcoming, but looking at different tools, including off-site levies, to fund some major intersection improvements, but ultimately providing for a multitude of different mobility options, including increased opportunities for the 5A network, that always available for all ages and abilities.
On arts and culture. How will you support local arts and culture as a part of Calgary's identity? From Andre Chabot.
Yeah, I've done a number of things over the years, including having artists bid on murals and having them covered with anti-graffiti paint, because there's a lot of graffiti in our city, and a lot of times it's an actual artist just trying to express themselves, and so to provide that opportunity in a fixed and structured environment, I think can help to support our local artists, as well as preventing any of the tagging that's occurring, but providing, I guess, more opportunities for local artists to contribute to their community by hiring them for small projects. Just recently undertook a request to recognize the community for some of the philanthropic work that they're doing by commissioning a local artist to actually do an art piece that celebrates what it is that they've been doing for the community. I think those kind of initiatives are things that I can do as a councillor, but ultimately as a city, making sure that we allocate a certain percentage of the capital projects that we do as a city, and to ensure that funding goes towards public art.
On community. In what ways do you try to give back to your community? From Andre Chabot.
I'm constantly trying to give back to my community. I try and stay engaged with my community as much as possible, either by attending community association meetings or ensuring that at least I have a staff member attending those community association meetings, holding monthly town hall meetings so that I can hear from the public on some of the specific concerns, and giving back personally by volunteering for fundraising events, including casino nights and participating in the community cleanups. I try and remain as present as possible within my community, so folks know that I'm there and that I'm approachable, so that they can share their concerns with me, so that I can then bring those things back to City Council to action some of those needs.
We note that Indigenous groups have their own bodies of governance, but as we are on shared land, we dedicated a question to decolonization. What is your understanding of Calgary's responsibilities under the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action? From Andre Chabot.
So the City of Calgary undertook its own report, and it's called the White Goose Flying Report. And in there's a number of things that were identified as to how the municipality can participate in the Truth and Reconciliation. There's a lot of elements in it that fall outside of municipal responsibility, but insofar as the municipal government is concerned, I'm certainly supportive of ensuring that the recognition is there, lands are made available to Indigenous communities to provide for the more vulnerable populations, because we do know that typically Indigenous individuals are more vulnerable than the average individuals. So providing for those opportunities for affordable housing, as well as different kind of cultural venues through the provision of lands from the City of Calgary at book cost, I think is something that we can certainly do, and I would support.
Finally, we gave each candidate a moment to share any closing remarks. From Andre Chabot.
So part of the reason that I'm running again is because I've initiated a lot of things as a member of council in this term. 2/3 of the ward that I represent is an area that I never previously represented in my previous terms. So I've basically spent the last 4 years learning what the needs are for my community and only started actioning some of those needs. So I'm hoping to get reelected so that I can make sure that I follow through with all of those things that I've initiated, as well as addressing some of the things that I have not been able to address so far. But also, this is going to be a critical election because of how many new members of council there's going to be, and we're going to need to have some continuity on council. I've played that role in the past and would be happy to continue to do that to help to mentor new members of council, as well as ensuring that I can train somebody to be able to replace me should I decide not to run in the future. But at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that there's that continuity and that institutional knowledge is retained to ensure that members of council don't make decisions that have unintended consequences.
That wraps up our conversations with your ward candidates. We hope their insights help you feel more informed heading into the 2025 general election. Now, we're shifting our focus to another important group of elected officials, school board trustees. Trustees play a critical role in shaping the direction of public education. They're responsible for setting priorities, approving budgets, and making decisions that impact students, families, and communities across their school jurisdictions. While their work often happens behind the scenes, it has a direct effect on the quality of education in Calgary. Just like councillors, trustees are elected during the municipal election. To find out which board you vote for, whether it's the Calgary Board of Education, Calgary Catholic School District, or another publicly funded board, you can visit electionscalgary.ca and use the Where Do I Vote tool. We reached out to all nominated trustee candidates running in this ward, inviting them to participate in this podcast. The interviews you're about to hear include only those candidates who responded and were available within our production timeline. To keep things fair and concise, we've selected about 1 minute from each candidate's response. The audio is presented unedited, and we've done our best to ensure every participant's voice is clearly and accurately represented. Let's now hear from the trustee candidates running in this ward. What are your top 3 priorities for Calgary schools, and how do you plan to address them during your term? From Public School Board Trustee candidate Aruj Fuad.
My main goal is students first. Money should follow the students. That's my main agenda. Also, parental rights is like my passion. I have always been, I am a parent myself and a grandparent, and I would like to have that say in everything that my child is going through in school. So having a transparent conversation and communication. The third thing is quality education, which is like also a very highly prioritized thing that I believe in.
From Public School Board Trustee candidate Waqar Ahmed.
The kids, they are having access to the material in libraries which is not age appropriate. So I'm going to be in topmost priority would be to remove all those material which are not age appropriate. Although Government of Alberta has promised something and they provided a timeline, but I would go for educating the parents and remove it right away, not a timeline. So this is my priority first. Priority second is that we have new communities, and then a blanket rezoning is also going on in the Calgary. Everyone is looking for the housing of people and influx of people out from the Alberta to accommodate them, and that's a good thing. But nobody thinks about the schools, that where they're going to be accommodating the kids. So I have the second priority that I would be for sure going to resolve that matter, because some of the schools are allotted to the kids which are away from their designated area. So like let's say somebody is in the Cornerstone, he has been given a school in Southeast, which is too far.
From Public School Board Trustee candidate Amna Chowdhury.
My top 3 priorities would be kind of coming back to the core education. I feel like the last few years our focus has deterred. I myself have gone through the public education here in Calgary, in Ward 10, and it was wonderful. And we had the strongest education system. And lately I've heard parents complaining about how things are no longer the same. They have shifted. And that's kind of what encouraged me to stand up into the elections to bring that voice back for the parents, and ensure that we go back to our core education system. The other part I've noticed in Ward 510 is an overflow issues in schools. And that's something we need to have a discussion on and bring parents' voice to the table. I understand the funding is coming from province, but we need to hold the city council accountable for building new schools as the new communities are growing.
From Public School Board trustee candidate, Cynthia Cordova.
Yes, so I have quite a bit of priorities for my school term if I was elected as a trustee, as I was a trustee before in my previous roles for 2 terms in Ontario. One of those things would always making sure that I put students' voices at the center of the table. I want to bring voices to the table and connect community resources and community parents and students, their voices to the table. And one of the initiatives I have is bringing an Indigenous trustee voice to the table, as well as a student trustee voice to the table to help us facilitate and make good decisions at the boardroom table.
How will you ensure equitable access to quality education for students across all communities, including those from marginalized or underserved backgrounds? From Aruj Fuad.
It's a very good question, actually. This is one of the things that actually drives me through this whole campaign and actually made me jump into it. I think all the communities need a voice, and that's my goal, to give them a voice. And most of the time when I communicate with people, they do have their opinions, but they don't have mean or right information to deliver that voice. I would like to be their voice and my voice as well, because I believe in it very firmly.
From Waqar Ahmed.
Most of the children, they are trying to get into, by their parents, they are trying to get into their charter school, like I would say private schools, because they want to go, they want to groom their child as per their religion or as per their culture. FFCA is one example. Islamic schools is one example. Khalsa school is one example. Why they go there? Because they think that our kids would be remaining in touch with their culture, and if they send their kids to CB, their kids may not be remaining in touch with their culture. So we need to focus on that aspect too, and not letting parents waiting for years and years for charter schools. Rather, we can devise something within our CB system to involve people. Like, what will happen if we give, like, there's a one prayer time in afternoon, and if you give 10 minutes for the high schoolers to go in a multipurpose hall and do prayers and come back.
From Amna Chowdhury.
Basically, this kind of goes back to making sure we're going back into our core education. We want to talk to all the parents who have had these concerns, and this is something I've actually had a conversation where some feel neglected, some aren't getting the same opportunity, and the board itself has a governance that it should be providing in 3 areas, which is the fiduciary, strategic, and organizational. And part of the fiduciary is the legal right for all children to have an equal right for their education. And I think this is where we need to come together as a community, bring in all the parents and the teachers together and hear what they have to say about different programs, and start creating a plan for the next 4 years and how we can further implement different needs for just different sets of group of people, whether they're struggling in maths or science or different areas.
From Cynthia Cordova.
This is definitely my field of interest. I did and have worked for the Salvation Army with mental health addictions. I've also worked in my previous role as a trustee in a marginalized community that had about 8 Performance Plus schools. There is funding there, but how we utilize that funding to better provide resources to students, resource sharing through our community of the education system is vital, and how we manage that $1.67 billion budget is critical.
How will you engage with parents, teachers, and students, and the broader community to ensure transparency and responsiveness in decision-making? From Aruj Fuad.
I think communication is the key, and to be able to connect with people. I think what I lack and what I felt when I was a parent, that it's almost impossible to get through the whole wall of parents and trustees communication. If I can actually feel that way, and I am going for this specific responsibility, I would like to be as available for my community and my people and all the parents, because I know exactly where they're coming from, and I would like to address that for them. So availability, communication, being able to answer and pick up all the phone calls that I receive, and it's going to be huge, I know that. But this is exactly why I'm here.
From Waqar Ahmed.
We do survey. We can increase the amount of surveys, and some parents are busy. They don't do surveys. They don't see emails, which is kind of a passive move by CPE. I would rather make it a little bit more active. So what I would do is ask the board to arrange an event for parents to come there, and they can just be given a small little note or a piece of paper. We can do some event there, and we can get the feedback. And we would ask them to involve in volunteering also, by letting them involve in our fundraising for, like move for a school, let's say, would let us know what they want and how they want it. So,
from Amna Chowdhury.
I plan myself to be more involved within the community by hosting several meet and greets. I'm actually hosting one this Saturday myself to get a chance to meet teachers and students and also parents. And I plan on continuing to do that probably on a quarterly basis or monthly, based on what the situation will be, to make sure that I can bring that voice to the board. There'll be plans and voting, and I would like to make sure that I account for all the voice of every community within Ward 5 and 10, be engaged, and make sure that we can bring that voice back to the board. Because myself living in Ward 5 or 10, I don't even know what's happening there. And we wouldn't know what's the decisions being made. And I would like to make sure that I'm accountable to the entire public by presenting what the issues are and hosting quarterly or monthly meets and greets, or showing up to different communities with the information.
From Cynthia Cordova.
Well, that's very important, because when we hold a title like this, we are not all experts. We do have to rely on the community, the voices to bring forward. So I will be available to welcome those voices and help support through the navigation of resolutions. I have some of that experience, of course, in my conflict resolution experience background. So I'm hoping that would be utilized. But basically, it's coming together, looking at both perspectives, both sides, and then coming with a solution that works.
thank you.
What is your position on the role of schools in addressing issues such as mental health, inclusion, and anti-racism? How would you support initiatives in these areas? From Aruj Fuad.
All of these things are very, very important, and we, like as a person, immigrant, I have experienced it firsthand. So I know exactly how it feels. Our schools need to be more engaged with students one-on-one on these issues, because these are really, really important issues. Having to have facilitating students on school premises with the guidance of counselors and all. We need to make sure that they have right resources in school to support all of these areas, because most of the time students lacking communication is going to be very difficult for them, and it is a difficult thing, because as a parent I have experienced all of that. To make sure that the right resources are available right in schools is going to be my priority.
From Waqar Ahmed.
Yeah, so this is, as I said, these are my top priorities too. So mental health in the kids is on the increase. I have seen the research, and I have 4 kids in schools. One is now in the university, my own child. One is in high school, one is in grade 5, and one is gonna be going in grade 1 next year. So, I have multiple kids, and I have been talking with them what's going on in the school, and what mental stress they are going through. There are different age people, especially in the junior high school. So a child from grade 7, let's say, is also having conversation, and they're coming across a child from grade 9 or 11 sometime. So for them, interacting with those other kids, especially out of home, where we do a spoon feeding and we don't expose them to everything. So they have been coming across the social media where the kids were having Instagram groups, and they used to bully sometime a child.
From Amna Chowdhury.
Racism has something that's been there not from today, but several years, or even 20 some years. I myself have faced that ourselves. I think this is where it goes back to the core governance, that making sure that every children has that opportunity, setting up different platforms for children to learn about, and to ensure that we can break this stigma that is in terms of the racism, in terms of mental wellness, and be okay to come out and make that concern. And whether that's a student going to the teacher because that's who they trust, or a community member, or this programs that we have set up. I believe right now there are several opportunities available, but I think it's about getting those information out to students, and knowing that they can reach out to this area to get the support, whether it's your parents, your teachers, your community group.
From Cynthia Cordova.
Yes, as I've given some background in regards to my experiences on that, and my lived experiences as well, I think it's important that we do bring voices of all sorts together. Trauma-informed is really crucial in my experience, and I think although we have the knowledge, we don't necessarily have a full understanding of what that looked like. So bringing voices together, different walks of understandings, learnings, culture, experiences, this will help us broaden our knowledge and make better informed decisions.
With ongoing concerns about education funding and class sizes in Alberta, how will you advocate for the resources schools need while working within budget constraints? From Aruj Fuad.
We need to make sure that money follows the students. It has always been a problem, and I, as a parent as well, I have seen it. Being a volunteer in school for a very long time, I have seen all of it firsthand. Making sure that the money that has been given to schools and students and classrooms are going to be spent there in full capacity. Being transparent and having that open communication, need to know where the money is going. Every resource that we're using, we need to have that very open a very transparent tracking of all of that. I think the easiest way is to have to have yourself available for all of these things. and tracking it right from the beginning.
From Waqar Ahmed.
Very good question, and this is what I am focusing to. Like, if you see, I said like we can get federal income, federal fund support, not income, for the parents who are charged with the noon supervision, because school doesn't have funds, and federal government, they have announced the child care. Why don't we just go over and say these are children, and they are, as per federal rules, they are allowed to get some support out of the school. But the parents are getting billed for noon supervision for the kids who are under grade 5 or 4. So we can access those funds, and nobody thought about it, which I'm thinking on, that we can get into that. And the second one was, since we have a funds restraints, and there's oversized classes. And I'm also talking about reducing the fee for multiple kids and stuff. So from where we get, it's going to be community who is going to fund that. And as I said, we can introduce multicultural events.
From Amna Chowdhury.
I think that's kind of where I'm really focusing on that, going back to the core, what's happening. Again, this is something we would have to go in, but if we bring back ourselves into the core education and identify what the curriculums are, I think that would help alleviate some of the concerns that we're facing. Of course, we would have to I would like to reach out to the provincial government and request further funding, but I think we need to reevaluate what's happening internally and perhaps make an audit before we so we can actually go in with a further strong voice of why we need it, rather than just saying we're limited on resources. Ward 5 and 10, we definitely need more schools. There is no school. Actually, yesterday I was driving around and there is no school in Cityscape, Cornerstone. All of these children are being pushed into Ward 10s and older community schools, and this is where we need to have that voice, be a strong voice to say why we need it.
From Cynthia Cordova.
Good, great question, actually, because it is a $1.7 billion budget. I operated in my 2 terms as a $1.5 billion budget, and it is very important to look at that budget and making sure that those fundings are being utilized. One of the initiatives I did at the time was stop a budget until we could find a better solution to not take out programs that were vital in our community. So this is a board-wide thing. It's not just here in Alberta, but my experience could help bring that knowledge to the table.
Is there anything else you want people to know? From Aruj Fuad.
Yes, I would like people to know, and I would like myself to be represented as one of them, to know that where I'm coming from, exactly what they're thinking, what they have in mind is what my agenda is. And I will be their voice. And it's not that like whatever I have and I placed here is going to be the only goal that I have, but whatever they're coming with, or if they have any issues that they want to address other than what I am passionate about, I am passionate about everything. So to have that communication, to have that goal in mind that whatever they're presenting to me, I am going to be their voice, is going to be my goal.
From Waqar Ahmed.
I have a deep insight, having 4 kids in CBE, one now gone to university. I trust on CBE. They have a quality education. There are some tweaks which we need to fix to make it more better and great. Calgary is one of the top city of the world. We don't want that we don't provide a quality education to our kids. So we need to provide quality of education like a top world country. I love this city. I've been here since 2013 after naturalizing as a federal skilled worker. I want our kids, they grow as a good citizen, and they contribute to the province of Alberta and Canada. and the communities should grow together, and they should be participating in national levels, intellectual levels. They should be good scientists, teachers, armed forces, doctors.
From Amna Chowdhury.
Our only priority should be our students, and we need to support that and give the resources to the teachers, to our parents, to give that support, the foundation that we need to create for our students. They are our futures, and we need to make that change happen today.
From Cynthia Cordova.
Yes. Well, basically, when it becomes an election season, the way I view these things is that there is a position available as if you were applying for a position like a job. And it is important for the voters to look at all the candidates that are available to want to fulfill that passion or that job at the table. And based on what they read and the experiences that candidates come, I believe that voters then could make that decision on who they want to see represent in that position of a job. So at the end of the day, it's really crucial that voters have a voice, and one of the ways of starting to have the voice is to go vote.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of CJSW's Municipal Election coverage. I hope today's conversation brought you a little closer to your community and the people who want to lead it. I'm your host, Emma, and all of the source material for this episode can be found in the episode description. Remember to visit electionscalgary.ca for more information on every candidate and to check your voter registration. Again, we would like to remind listeners that the views expressed in this podcast are those of the candidates and the interview subjects, and not those of CJSW or its staff. Make sure to visit cjsw.com or the CJSW app to check out our voter education episode and our exclusive mayoral debate. Until then, take care, and please vote, follow, and share.